Good afternoon to all those there in Cairo, and good evening from here. I am Akash Agarwal, based in India. I am the Vice President for EMEA and APAC in EC Council. I thank this opportunity of being able to present to you today um, this beautiful evening in such a prestigious conference, Arab Security Conference. Thanks, and with regards to Dr. Baha and my friend Ahmed, thank you very much for this opportunity and the entire team here. Um, when I was first contacted to we've got a very long relationship. So when we heard about this new editions of Arab Security Conference this year, which in fact is in a hybrid mode. Thank you very much for that. It's very important. You'll come to know later why I said it's important to have it the way we are running it. I thought that there must be something that people have been talking about. There must be something this year that cybersecurity experts are talking about, and not just at the expert level, but I must be talking about something which impacts the entire world, the masses, all 7.5 billion of us. It's impacting us, all those of us who use any form of IT, whether it is mobile phone or something. So that's where I came up with this thing called ransomware attack and the shifting dynamics of phishing. Well, ransomware is not new. People have been talking about it in the most part of last 1 decade. Phishing, people have been talking about almost like 5 to 7 years now. But then what's new? A lot has flown under the bridge, and we'll see that there are several things that people on this conference, which I assume are all experts, those who are listening to me or those who are, kind of have some kind of an interest in this conference, would some or the other way be linked to this. And it's better that we understand what's happening in today's ransomware and phishing world, and how to come out of it, whether, if at all, we'll be able to come out of it. Now, the world traditionally has witnessed some very gruesome events, whether it has been pandemic or the diseases or attacks. Let's talk about some of the deadliest medical diseases. I'll come to our cyber diseases later on, but I just wanted your attention to something which is pretty similar, which is a few hundred years old, so that you could see how it's happening and how to draw an analogy here. Some of the deadliest diseases like cholera, hepatitis, smallpox, in some parts, tuberculosis, plague, so on. Uh, they were once untreatable when they emanated, and they wreaked havoc on the mankind. Human beings, they've historically fought against each one of them with improved efficiency and efficacy. They've become deadlier, but we've been able to find out the way to, overcome that. Now, while thinking about the past 100 years of history of such diseases and developments to cure about them, I was thinking about how our cybersecurity industry is shaping up. Drawing an analogy, it all started a few decades ago when our requirements made the computing systems that we use, more and more complex. We found cures, deployed adequate systems, but those diseases, they were running a few steps ahead of us. There were several attack vectors developed by those with vested interest, and individuals, organizations, everyone were falling prey to it. The good part was that the development of the cure was only getting accelerated even further. It means there were experts like you who were working day and night to ensure that the development did not stop. While the organizations were busy building themselves and being better, more sophisticated by building a very complex system to serve their ever increasing needs, they did not as much realize that they are becoming dependent on them, and they are leaving a lot of vulnerabilities in between. Now, I'll not go into the nuances of all those things as it is out of the scope of today, but would like to tell you that attackers also took note of it. You and I know that, and saw that as an opportunity to earn some fast buck. Now, imagine an organization working towards a deadline of a launch, and suddenly they find everything gets stuck. The organization now not just runs a risk of losing on the launch, but its entire reputation and possibly the very existence. We've got several examples of it. The attackers were able to inflict the software or systems of that organization with malware and lock it. And guess what? They demanded ransomware. Doesn't it sound similar to all other kinds of bad events that happens around the world? So you and I, we need to understand that the way medical science or crime or criminology has grown, we have to look at it from the same angle, and we have to learn from those examples. Computing in some way is new. When we talk about ransomware, it is a growing threat. Now, what exactly it is? The definition we can say is a growing threat to the data files of not just individuals, but businesses, government agencies, organizations. It locks or encrypts the file of an infected computer and holds the key to decrypt the file unless the victim pays a ransom. So, for those of you who are non-starters, would like to know what ransomware exactly we are talking about here. Now let's talk about some changing dynamics. The devastating effect of ransomware, it has continued to grow over the past 2 decades. We have witnessed them to grow from, now this is the change, from being just opportunistic to carefully orchestrated attacks. We've all fallen prey to ransomware primarily due to phishing attacks. Phishing attacks, on the other hand, they too have become very sophisticated. We are going to talk shortly about the smishing, wishing, and all those things as well. These episodes are becoming more severe. The environmental is becoming more hostile, and we are at the receiving end. Is there a cure? Well, there was this article from Ian Mann. I mean, there are several such references I'm going to take. Several researchers have worked on the stuff that I'm going to talk to you about, and I've quoted them all here. Ian Mann in the world's leading cyber security magazine, CISOMag.com, has mentioned about 4 generations of ransomware attack on your screen right now. The first generation, uh, they keep asking for more. So they just encrypted your file. When I say they, the attackers I'm talking about, and they demanded payment. They kept demanding unless you paid. That's the well, that was not the smartest. Later on, we found out as when someone professional negotiator comes in, it advises against paying for it. So, well, they wanted money, so they improved, they became better, and came the second generation. They soon realized that not being paid will be bad for their business. So they started to honor the release of decryption for keys on the first payment. So they said, "You release now, I'll pay you some. You pay me some, I'll release some." So you started building trust. So although it's an oxymoron, honorable attacker, but this tactic of theirs, it worked. Uh, because it became a viable solution. Now, in the third generation, the attackers started to become kind of more greedy. They said, instead of I asking you to pay, you quote me how much, because a guy would pay, an organization would pay only when its data is more valuable than the ransom that he would be it would be paying. So there, that came the third generation. And then the latest attack strategy in generation 4, they are adding additional elements to the generation 3. The attacker carries out an additional activities prior to deploying an activity, activating the ransomware, disable, disrupt, or encrypt the backups, or steal sensitive data that has potential value to be used later on, to be released on internet or whatever, or maybe blackmailing later on. Disable the logging on target system and the entry route. So they become even more. So as you see, there have been changing dynamics from generation 1 to 4, as we saw. They want to gain your trust that they do have the capability to hamper the they they went on to kind of uh, blackmailing you even further by saying that if you have been able to unlock it, we'll release some part of your valuable data to the internet unless you pay. So the if I'm just trying to draw your attention in my presentation today that you must be able to, if you're working in this field or plan to join this field, have the analogy and the history of all such things so that you become a better person who's able to prevent such attacks or deal with such certain attacks like this. So, broadly speaking, the term ransomware commonly denotes an attack that involves extorting financial money or financial resources from targets, currency, cryptocurrency, or whatever. However, it is more nuanced than you might think, and we can talk about various types of ransomware. I'll not go in details, but commodity ransomware, for example, is an automated way. Although an attacker could compose a unique phishing campaign to send the malware to a specific victim, commodity ransomware is entirely automated. Or when we talk about human operated ransomware, where it begins via an initial foothold in a firm, in an organization, numerous steps are involved. Many of the steps it requires a human to click. I mean, you get control of the people inside that organization. Now, where you're giving them a percentage of the spoils to kind of do certain things out there while within the organization. And ransomware brands like there are certain organizations which have become so because someone has encrypted your data and now you're not sure. You're trying to negotiate. You're trying to make it look like you will be able to kind of decrypt it, or maybe you don't believe that there is an organization which is demanding whatever money, for instance, say $100,000, and you don't believe them. I mean, come on, how can someone encrypt my data and I'll not give it? But when you look at a name pointed out against it, you become fearful and you see all the other examples of the past that they've done. So these ransomware attackers, they are actually trying to build brands of those they're trying to be branded that I did it there, now I'm doing it here, you better pay it to me, otherwise I'll do the same that I did there. So I hope that I hope you understand as to why it is so important today when we are talking about more and more sophistication as the day goes by, more and more your dependency, your organization's dependency on digital. We're talking about digital transformation. Most of the organizations are in spending millions of dollars to to transform themselves digitally. But then there are those organizations which are kind of trying to make a fast buck. So before it's late or too late, get someone to take care of such things. Get an expert to take care of such things. Several incidents are there. Some of them I took it from internet and from certain cybersecurity magazines, CISOMag.com in this case. So cyber criminals, they entice employees to deploy Black England ransomware, the thing that I was talking about, that they entice the employees itself to, kind of do certain things like that. Or there was this Hive ransomware gang that took down the IT system at Memorial Health System in the US. And then who doesn't know about Accenture, this organization Lockbit 2.0 ransomware? They demanded 50 million. I mean, who could have thought that Accenture could be done? Could be. Uh, it's a globally leading organization. Who could have thought that? Then there were smaller organizations, smaller individuals. They were all kind of asked to pay. In a ransomware attack, for example, the threat actors exploited the system vulnerability, encrypted the data, blocked or locked the users, and demanded payment. They demanded cryptocurrency, they demanded other forms of the payment. It all came, kind of added to around 45 million. So it can go up and up. I can have thousands of such examples today, and we face it on a daily basis, whatever is happening. So look around you. You may be you may be working in telco, telecommunication, or pharma, IT, banking, financial services, insurance, or oil and gas, or any other aerospace or any other industry. Look for those examples. I started by telling you about how I draw an analogy when I consult those organizations to be able to keep themselves away. I've been working on this for almost a decade now, and being pretty successful in reducing the potential or possibility of attacks per se. So look for those examples. It's very, very important. I'll be happy to have an offline chat about this, and help some of you or whoever is interested in kind of making you understand as to what and how I did. So when we look at the trends, for example, so I'm sorry if if this particular graphic is very, very small, but it's all trying to say that there's a major increase in ransomware being distributed, specifically by the COVID related. So when COVID arrived, there were these 907,000 just in one quarter, which was January to March 2020, when the COVID had just started. 907,000 spam messages, or 737 incidents that were related. So one statistics that shows that. Now, imagine it has only increased from there. So you see the ransomware attack on the extreme right bar that you see here is 151% increase in this compared to any other kind of attack that you see on the screen. The point I'm making is this is a serious, serious, serious threat now. We better take a note. Now take a look at another one. The red bar or the orange bar states the 2021 incidents year on year. Month-wise, it is showing January, February, March, April, May, June, 2020 versus 2021. And the blue or the indigo bar is 2020. So you can see the rise. And as we go into July, August, September data, we will see that the things are becoming worse. And same is the story quarter-wise. Look at it. I mean, I was just talking about the quarter one, which is 2020. Now look at how it has gone in quarter two, 2021. So it's happening here in this part of the world. It's happening everywhere. Whether we talk about the US or you talk about European Union, you talk about Middle East or MENA or Africa or APAC, wherever you talk about, it's increasing that ways. So take note, guys. Now, do phishing attacks cost more than ransomware? I mean, I was going through one of the research papers, and I saw that the cost of phishing has more than tripled since 2015. Uh, it was around 4 million in 2015, according to the Ponemon Institute research, and it has gone up to around 15 million, almost like four times. Uh, Not just triple, more than tripled, in fact, four times almost in 2021. The most time consuming tasks to resolve attacks are cleaning and fixing of infected systems and conducting forensics investigation, documentation, planning, and all those things are less productive things. They are very, very time consuming. They consume a lot of money. So think about it. You're dealing with one-way ransomware. Now the phishing comes in, which is of course, which sometimes is a cause of kind of giving in access to your systems to the attackers, and the consequences demand of ransomware. So the demand of ransom. I'm sorry. So look at the loss of employee productivity that we see here. So that too has increased from around 1.8 million to 3.2 million in the span of 5 years. So employees are spending more time dealing with the consequence of phishing scams. They have to be more, kind of very, very vigilant while sending. So I'm not just talking about the wastage of time you spend, the time that you spend in carefully monitoring the emails that are coming to you and you're sending them out, but there are several aspects of it where there's a lot of loss of employee productivity which is there. Then the cost of resolving malware infections, it has also doubled. There are credential compromises, tons of it runs into millions of dollars now. Cost of business disruption due to ransomware, it has increased so much. So overall, it is becoming a big, big challenge. The only thing that I feel, which in my opinion, I've been into several committees and forums where I consult a lot of organizations, and the one of the most viable thing that has come out is employee training, to train them to ensure that they know very clearly where to click, which link to click, which link not to click, how does a phishing email or any other kind of message or communication looks like, and so on. Although this is a the on your screen is a outcome of a research which was published in a paper. But in my personal experience, I've seen that if you do that, you will be able to uh, kind of reduce by average of more than 53%. So imagine if you've got certain amount of attacks, if your employees are trained enough, and there is a pattern that people follow. It's not that you train them once or you train them twice a year or on certain things. No, there's a complete schedule that is made. Uh, Department wise, grade wise, function wise, those kinds of trainings are involved. There's a continuous training that has to go in, which is very important for ensuring that the attacks are down by more than 50%. You have whistleblowers, you have vigilant employees, you've got trained employees. So you'll be able to reduce this particular thing. So my point is, one of the most potent and prudent tool that I have seen here in taking care of ransomware, taking care of phishing attacks, is to train the employees, and that's what has given me a lot of confidence that this is something that can really prevent it in the future. Now let us again go back to my first thing that I said. We're dealing with COVID. We're still dealing with. Most of us are still kind of suffering from lockdowns, and there are pandemic after effects, pandemic effects, and so on. Think about it. What did you do? You trained yourself. You trained yourself in wearing masks. You trained yourself in washing hands. You trained yourself in sanitizing it. You trained yourself in maintaining social distance. You trained yourself in quarantine. You trained yourself in taking certain vitamins and antibiotics and so on when certain things happen. Most of us know it now. And look at the results. Here in India, for example, I've seen that whenever we've got like 29 states or provinces, as you might like to call them. Some of the states where we see some social gathering happening when people forget that what should not have been done, we see the upsurge of COVID patients out there and the resource crunch results. But people who are where the states or regions where people are vigilant, people follow those norms, the effect of COVID goes down. Which means, if I draw an analogy here in this case, if I train my staff, I'm an organization, um, and if I train my staff properly, as per the professional guideline, in the profession, in line with professional guidelines, I think I'll be able to bring it down even more than 53%, because what I spoke about 53% was just an average. So look at any pandemic, guys, you look at. I mean, for example, taking vaccines on time, taking training lessons on time, training medications on time, or maintaining social distance, not clicking on certain links, and so on and so forth, is so very important for us to understand the nuance. That's where the analogy and the learning from the past is very, very important when we are dealing with the changing dynamics of ransomware. We are dealing with the changing dynamics of phishing techniques. Well, um, this is not the real picture. I've just kind of pasted it, but not to hurt any sentiments. But it usually happens. If I'm working with an organization with 5,000 employees, for example, I'll always find some percentage of employees clicking on that emails. Those who do not are either trained or they even didn't check the emails. So we do repeats. So that's where it's important that we need to make sure that we are trained enough, and it is in the professional guidelines as per that. Now, shifting dynamics of phishing. People saw that you are able to, kind of, when it comes to an email, you're very clear, you've got that band, this email is coming from outside, don't click on it. Then they started sending you SMSs, whether on WhatsApp, Telegram, text messages, or whatever. So they start sending you as posing as if they were your impersonating your telco provider, service provider, or posing as your bank or whatever. You started clicking on that. And then when that was not enough, they came to voice phishing, automated voices, or phishing calls. There's so many of them. Then USB baiting for those who are not connected to internet, who try to be smart. And so the attackers are moving smarter than you. So here also you see, when we look at kind of inflicting malware in your computing system, they have found out new and innovative ways of getting in. Now within this email phishing, within this smishing, within this phishing, you'll find even further down deep into it, you'll find several ways that these guys have found out how they kind of will be able to dupe you. So, and one of the researchers, for example, it says human error caused 90% of cyber data breaches. You and I are humans. We are causing it. Guys, learn to live with it. I'll not stretch it beyond a few more slides so that you get my message, and you understand as to how serious it could be. The title of this slide, I think, is very, very important. If I were to take a crux out of it, I would just take this: are you aware? Don't take the bait. So, are you aware of the insecurities? Are you aware where not to click? Are you aware that you can differentiate between a phishing email or a normal email? So, this is the thing that you must take away from this. Are you aware? Do not take the bait. So, a single careless click on the wrong link can really compromise your entire network. We all know that. So, make sure there's a system in place to report these attacks. Make sure that each one of your employees, even that guy who kind of comes early in the morning, cleans your table and so on, he's also carrying a mobile phone. There's a chance that he might be connected to your internet, and he might click on a wrong, have been contacted by an attacker, and he might be the guy who might be an insider. You know, the way I gave you an example of that organization, which where the employees were enticed. Now train your employees. Now I just clicked on it. For example, I clicked on a wrong link. Whom should I contact? Oh no, I don't know. CEO, too big guy. CIO, I don't know where he sits. I don't know his email ID. IT guy, well, I'll send it to IT guy. Now, is that the right guy to send it to? So please make sure that your employees know whom to reach out to. Now, if even if you're doing training, do not do it just for the sake of doing the training. Do it scheduled, hire a professional, and only then take it. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to kind of take the real benefits of that training. So, are you aware? Don't take the bait. Thanks to lots of governments and regulators I'm sure August audience like you would know about all these regulations. There are industry-based regulations. Some of them are on your screen right now, whether it is HIPAA or FISMA or PCI or ISO 27001 or GDPR. So these are those things that industries have come out with. But guys, there's a word of caution I have for you. This is a double-edged sword, I would say. You know why? Because when your auditor comes, you comply only because to satisfy that auditor. An auditor comes with a checklist, which has been released by one or more of these regulators. And he just tick the check boxes and goes away. Well, will that save you? I'm not sure. Are you? So what do we do? So in the changing dynamics, you have to make sure that not just this, but you must have all the other nuances that I spoke to you about today are taken care of. So don't just rely on them. on the applicable regulations, applicable in your country, applicable in your industry, applicable in your organization. But make sure that they are updated, that you are learning from anything that happens in your organization, because every organization, even when you are in the same sector or segment or industry, would be different from the other one in the same family. So remember this. Don't just rely on this, or don't just. These are important. These are the basic necessities. But you have to, kind of make it sure that every day you're changing it. You're learning from it, not changing it. You're learning from it. That's a very, very important thing. So that's it from me. I once again want to thank the organizers of this conference. I want to thank to each one of you who's listening to this, and I'm I am on this chat group. I'm open to questions. You can text me. You can send me message on WOA app where I'm available, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much, and I especially want to thank both the technical guys who helped me configure the computer to be able to present today. And my special thanks to EC Council and my colleague Joby Verghese, who helped me through this presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.